She slammed her brakes inches from my gate and started screaming, "Open this right now or I'll call the cops." I didn't say a word. I just stood there, hand on the steel post, while her SUV idled behind the brand new Bollards. She had driven through my ranch gate again, like she owned it. Then she pulled out her phone and yelled loud enough for the fields to hear, "This is HOA property. He's blocking a public road." The operator answered, and she smiled at me like she'd already won. What she didn't know was this gate wasn't new, the cameras weren't new, and the land she kept cutting through wasn't part of her HOA at all. I stayed calm as the wind pushed dust across the road and her tires spun uselessly against the steel. Because the moment she said, "Get him arrested," I realized she had just made the biggest mistake of her life. She stepped out of her SUV and walked straight up to the Bollards like they were an insult to her face. She kicked one with her boot and laughed. "You can't block this. My HOA approved this road 10 years ago." I finally spoke, slow and calm. "This road ends at my fence." She rolled her eyes and held her phone up, recording me. "Say that again for the cops. You people always lie." Then she crossed the gate line and pointed at my house in the distance. "I'm filing a violation. You'll be fined daily until these are removed." Behind her, my son stood silent, gripping the fence rail, watching a stranger threaten his home like it was nothing. That's when she crossed the line for real. She said, "If you don't open this gate right now, I'll have your truck towed and maybe your kids taken for trespassing." I felt my jaw tighten, but I still didn't move, because the cameras were already recording, and the call she just made wasn't going to go the way she thought. 10 minutes later, dust rose at the end of the road, and 2 patrol cars pulled up behind her SUV. She folded her arms and smirked, already rehearsing her speech. Before they even shut their doors, she shouted, "Finally, he blocked an HOA access road and threatened my family." One officer looked at the Bollards. The other looked at my gate. Then they looked at me. I handed over my ID without a word. She jumped in again, fast and loud. "He installed illegal barriers. He's not even part of our community." The officer asked one simple question. "Sir, do you own this land?" I nodded. "All of it." She laughed. "That's impossible." That's when the officer paused and asked me something that made her face change. "Do you still have the original survey from the county, or should I pull it up myself?" Her smile froze. She tried to jump back in, talking fast now. "Officer, he's bluffing. Our HOA has maps, easements, everything." The officer didn't look at her. He stepped closer to me and lowered his voice. "Sir, this address came up flagged." I reached into my truck and pulled out a worn folder. No drama, no rush. I opened it and handed him the papers. He scanned the first page, then the second. His partner leaned in. Behind us, Karen's phone slipped a little in her hand. "That road," the officer said slowly, pointing past the Bollards, "was never public." She snapped, "That's not true. We've used it for years." Prompt. I looked at her for the first time and said, "Using something doesn't make it yours." Prompt. Then the officer asked the question that hit her like a punch. "Ma'am, who told you this was HOA land?" She hesitated, just for a second. Then she said, "Our HOA president. We all use it. Everyone knows." The officer raised an eyebrow. "Using it without permission is still trespassing." Her voice went sharp. "You can't trespass on something that's community access." That's when the second officer walked back from his car, tablet in hand. "I pulled the county file," he said. "This ranch isn't just private. It's been restricted since before your HOA existed." She took a step back. "That doesn't matter. He blocked an emergency route." The officer shook his head. "There is no easement, no right-of-way, no emergency access here." She suddenly pointed at me. "He installed these to trap me." "That's illegal." I stayed quiet, because the officer turned to her and asked, "Ma'am, did you drive past a posted private gate to get here?" She opened her mouth, then closed it. That was the moment she realized this wasn't a warning call anymore. Her voice dropped. Everyone drives through here." The officer nodded once. "That doesn't answer the question." She tried one last move. "He threatened me. He stood there like he wanted a fight." I finally spoke again. "Officer, may I show you something?" I tapped my phone. The video played. Her SUV crashing through my old wooden gate weeks ago. Her yelling. Her saying, "Move or I'll have you arrested." The sound of her own voice filled the air. The officer stopped the video and looked at her. "You've been warned before?" She shook her head fast. "That video is edited." He turned the screen toward her. "It's time-stamped. And there are 5 more clips." Then he said the words she never expected. "Ma'am, step away from the vehicle." Her face went pale, because now the problem wasn't the gate anymore. It was her. She started shouting, backing away like noise could save her. "This is harassment. I pay HOA fees. You can't touch me." The officer didn't raise his voice. "Those fees don't give you rights on private land." He asked me, "Do you want to press charges for trespassing and property damage?" She snapped her head toward me, eyes wide. "You wouldn't dare." I looked at my son, then back at her. "I warned you, more than once." The officer nodded and turned to her. "Ma'am, place your hands behind your back." Her phone fell into the dirt. The recording kept running. People from her neighborhood had started to gather at the road, watching in silence as the cuffs clicked shut. She screamed, "This isn't over." I didn't smile. I didn't speak. Because I knew what was coming next would hurt her more than this moment ever could. They drove her away with dust trailing behind the patrol cars, and the road went quiet again. A few neighbors stood there, unsure what to do now that the story they believed was falling apart. One officer handed me a card. "Her HOA president is about to get a call," he said. "So is the county." That evening, a notice went out to every house in her community. The shortcut was closed. Any future entry would be charged as trespassing. A week later, the HOA removed her from the board. Fines, legal fees, and repairs stacked up fast. The road they thought they owned never was. I watched my son lock the gate and slide the steel bar into place. He looked up at me and asked, "She can't come back, right?" I shook my head. "Not unless she wants to be arrested again." That night, standing on my land, I felt something simple and heavy at the same time. I didn't buy this ranch to control anyone. I bought it so no one could control us.